I'm a co-designer on the project Looking Forward to Tomorrow, and it is taking place, our event, the Equality event is taking place on Saturday the 10th of July, and we decided to focus on the theme of Black joy. And the reason that we chose this theme is because when we were talking to people in our group on our Zoom sessions, it came up a lot as an extremely important thing to discuss, especially since in 2020 Black Lives Matter has been so prominent in so many people's lives, and especially people of colour. And it can be a really heavy topic, and I think it's important to sometimes, you know, have something brighter to look at that. So we focused on Black joy, and we want to do Black joy of artists, not just Manchester based, just everywhere, and uplift them and provide a platform for them. And it's kind of a celebration. So that's the film that you're about to see, is a celebration of Black creativity and joy.
Hey everyone, my name is Yandass, and I'm an artist, a dancer, an actor, a choreographer, and a director from Tameside in Greater Manchester. I'm really excited to be in this beautiful space, Space One in Contact Theatre, for the Black Joy conversation for Manchester International Festival and Contact's Looking Forward to Tomorrow. I'm joined by three incredible artists, Tio, Dorcas Seybuyange, and Xana. Before we start this conversation, I think it would be really great to get to know each other. So let's check out the home videos.
Hello everyone, my name is Dorcas Seybuyange. I am an actor, writer and vocalist, and I am very looking forward to tomorrow, the event of Manchester International Festival, where we are going to talk about joy. What a subject to talk about. It's not everyday grief. We can actually talk about this and embrace it and enjoy it. So I hope to see you there.
Hi guys, my name's Tio, I'm 25 and I'm a stylist and image maker from Manchester. I've been doing photography for about 4 years, and a lot of my work addresses the themes of Black representation and Afro-surrealism in art. I've also been an underground producer and DJ for the past 5 years, doing nights around Manchester and touring internationally.
Hi, I'm Xana. I'm a freestyle live loop musician and composer and sound artist and sound designer and writer. I work in theatre, film, do different things in installation. I do a lot of community projects, particularly to do with tech and looking at how we can make things more accessible, and also using that as a template to think about ways in which we can experience music in a way that includes everybody, not just in the experiencing of it, but also the making of it as well. I really love music, I really love sound, I really love bass and vibration. So how I really approach that is just trying to be as open as possible, and really just feeling it and letting the experience just take over. So that's me. And if you ever want to be in sound, just look me up.
Hi, my name is Yandass Ndlovu, and I'm an actor, a dancer, a choreographer, and a director from Hyde in Manchester, which I'm currently at. Ever since I moved there at about 12 years old from Zimbabwe and South Africa, my home, I felt very connected to this place as a home. I felt very connected to Manchester as a home because I've lived pretty much every district: Oldham, Tameside, Rochdale, Salford, Bury, Whitefield. And I've had a lot of opportunities to have a lot of my work, my art celebrated in the city and shown in the city, and very connected to the city. So I'm very excited to be back in Manchester here. Well, not back, but here in Manchester, celebrating Black voices, celebrating Black excellency, Black beauty, and most importantly, Black artists and voices that really need to be heard. Right, sweet, yeah. So now that we've got a bit of a sense of who you guys are, seeing you in your home turfs, I'm gonna just kick off the conversation. I'm gonna start with a question that I'm gonna throw to all of you, but I'm gonna come to you first, Xana. What does Black joy mean to you? And if you've got any examples of this, that would be really great.
I think Black joy means to me living all facets of yourself without explanation and without hesitation. It means being able to really celebrate and experiment with people who look like you, and to actually approach life with abundance, because we have a lot of abundance around us and through us. And where I try to find Black joy is in creating my own music, creating my own stories, looking back through archives, being able to interact with other artists and like champion them as well, because I feel like the people that I've met along the way, in me being able to develop as a creative, have really inspired me and have actually given me that sense of joy, that sense of community, and that sense of future possibility. So like my Black joy comes from seeing those people also shine. Whether they be friends, people I don't know, like people I just met today, and I find out about them, I'm like, yo, there are people that exist that are lit that I didn't know about, and that brings me joy at the same time. And it also means, for me, like being able to, like at the moment, particularly during the pandemic, I've been doing a lot of like gardening and like connecting with nature and stuff like this. Because I guess we're people of the sun, so and I think wanting to be closer to that feels like a natural transition, in particularly when you're living in a city. And I found through like looking at like nature's connection with music that I've also found Black joy there. I've found it through, there are people who are like growing gourds, growing calabashes in order to grow guitars and stuff like that. Like exploring how you can connect growing food with like exploring more with, being able to explore more with sound and with, nature. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, it does.
And for me, like, it's also been really great because I've been able to see like how we can fully sustain ourselves in, and how we can feel better through growing and through understanding what it is we're actually absorbing in our bodies. I think it's so, it feels often so, what's the word that I'm searching for? Like easy to just resolve yourself to just take what's being given. But actually, it's nice to be able to actually understand the world around you a bit more through like nature. And I've been like growing different things like hibiscus, so I can make my own sorrel. And I've also been like exploring things around growing cotton and the history of that and what that like looks like. And I've been growing callaloo, and like actually being able, that for me also gives me joy, because, and that is essentially a part of Black joy, is cooking. We speak through our food. And yeah, books as well. I think a lot of the books that I've been reading lately have been encouraging me to like interrogate what it means to like cultivate your rage in a way that makes you also happy. Like I can feel happy whilst I burn down Babylon, you know. Like I can like, you can still rage and rave at the same time in protest. And I think a part of Black joy is also knowing that it isn't all a traumatic experience. Though there are traumatic facets of it, there is also moments and places and people who really are able to come together and encourage you to sit in all parts of yourself and like explore what that looks like. So yeah, Black joy means to me it's multitudes.
Yeah,
that's what it means to me at the moment.
Yeah, no, nah, thank you so much for the answer. And I feel like there's a lot in there to unpack, but we'll come back to it. I'm pretty sure you guys have your own opinion as well on like what Black joy means to you, and I'm sure that you have sort of like ideas that have sort of bounced off from hearing all of that as well.
Yeah, like we definitely have like similarities in terms of like what Black joy means. To me, it's being able to exist in a way that embraces my visibility, like without feeling awkward in spaces where I can just be present and be me without having to be questioned about who I am, and like without having to, you know, have all the negative tags that come along with Blackness, but to just be me as a human being, and the personality that comes through that. But I think also like Black joy also means like being in spaces of we're in Black spaces with Black people, and I'm feeling a comfort in that shared experience that we have as Black people, and being able to, you know, have conversations where we feel like we don't need to explain, you know, give context to what we're saying naturally, and without feeling like we have to now educate, like, because we've been educating everybody for the past how many, like, you know, times past. So yeah, to just be, I guess that's what it means for me.
Just exist. Nah, thank you for that. Tion.
Yeah.
When I come to you.
No, I think I'd agree with everybody on here that, like, you know, Black joy is very much about acceptance and being able to be unashamedly Black in whichever space, and not feeling like to transcend in those spaces that you have to dilute yourself or rid yourself of any of the things that come with being Black. Obviously it comes with a lot of trauma, but there is a lot of joy that comes with that, you know, and allowing people to see your success and progress while staying true to yourself is like very much part of that.
Yeah. Nah, thank you so much. There's so much as well within that, like with it. It's really interesting sort of like hearing from you as well, of like it's not just about the outside, but it's also the internal, like what you put on to yourself, how you feel about yourself and how you see yourself, as well as like the external, how you feel in spaces, how you're perceived in spaces. So kind of like, I'll just move on to the next question actually. What sort of spaces do you sort of like experience Black joy? And I guess that's kind of bouncing off a little bit of your comment in terms of like big spaces that you don't have to feel like you have to explain yourself, basically where you feel like you can just be free, unashamedly Black.
Yeah. I feel like for me, like the height of my Black joy is being with my family, because I think that is when I am my most authentic self. And it's like, and the thing about my family, like we all have our Congolese culture that comes with it. So it's like, it's completely different from me being in a Black British space to being in a Black Congolese space, where, you know, like the banter's just different and the music's just different. And obviously there's enjoyment in sharing that, but I guess like sharing that with other people who don't recognize that culture, but also just being in that space where we could just have our banter and like switch between, but like everyone else can be switching between languages, and like I might not be fluent, but I understand what they're saying, so I can laugh along, and I think that's the height of my Black joy in a space. Yeah.
Nice. I feel like it's a privilege as well to know the height of your Black joy. Do you know what I mean? To know where to tap into for it. Yeah. I'll open up the thing in the conversation, to be fair.
For me, it's like it's a mixture of being in family spaces. So my family is like Jamaican, so we know how to celebrate and sit in our essence. But I think also over the years, it's like being in queer Black spaces has been a place of joy for me as well. Just because those spaces also, us finding spaces for us to gather, it feels sometimes so difficult and like an obstacle, particularly spaces that are accessible, both economically and physically and in so many different ways. So being able to come together and connect in a way that redefines but also cements our existence as queer Black people is a really joyful place to be, because everywhere you turn, there are people that look like you and identify along a different spectrum that you do, and there's no question, you know. And one of the other places of joy is spaces that I actually curate for myself. So like, if I'm working on a particular, when we were working a lot on a particular show or something like that, being in a place where a lot of the production team, or actually all of the production team is Black. And when that happens, there's a feeling of being untouchable actually as a group. And that there's like, I walk in knowing that everything that I'm gonna say is gonna be taken into account, and actually I'm gonna be able to have rich conversations, and I'm gonna be able to laugh loud where my whole mouth opens wide, you know. And then I'm also gonna have the feeling where we're all talking at the same time and everyone's trying to get heard, but we all know where the conversation is going, and all of these wonderful representations of what makes us really beautiful as a people. So I think when I'm in spaces like that, where I'm particularly in an industry that the language also doesn't serve Black creatives to be able to enter into, it's really nice to be able to walk into rooms and everyone looks like you, and the story is like exploring something related to you but also beyond that as well at the same time. And that for me is like also my spaces of joy, and I actively try to create those spaces more and more, because I feel like, yeah, that shifts us into places of like equity, where we own, it's no longer takeovers, because takeovers feel temporary, and it feels like we're giving you license to be radical. And actually I want us to be able to own our own spaces. And like, yeah, so I think having spaces like that fills me up with a lot of joy, a lot, particularly because it gets so loud, and I'm a big music head, so yeah.
It's absolutely incredible just listening to these conversations. And I think more of this should just happen anyway, because I think, like you're saying, it's about that kind of like the take. Sorry.
No, like to touch on what Xana said, like, you know, spaces that you don't feel like you have to ask permission to be yourself is very much a part of that. Like at family home, you know, you don't ever have to ask permission. This is you just being your authentic self. I feel like in the wider world, spaces like art aren't always as accessible. You know, the workplace, the creative industry, you know, it's not dominated by Black voices, Black people, and it can make it difficult to be yourself or feel like you can be authentic within those spaces. But I think it's just that realization that you are who you are, you can't change that. And there's very much, it's about enriching in your understanding of what that is to be Black. You know, a lot of what I've done over the past few years is trying to understand stories or things that allow me to know myself a bit better, you know, through those that have gone before me, through tales that have been told. And from that, you just feel a lot richer as a person, I feel. You know, you have the confidence to go in because your forefathers and your ancestors have already been through much worse, you know.
Do you know what, I was actually going to ask a question just following on the second question, just of like, how do you keep that authenticity? How do you maintain? I think you've already answered some of it, of like the more that you can read up on other people and understand people that have came before you and and have something to sort of hold on to in terms of like those morals when you do go into those spaces where you may not necessarily feel like you may be fully authentic. How else would you feel? What sort of advice would you also give someone to sort of like help build that authenticity up?
Yeah, I think on a real, like, it'll look different for different people, and I think it'll be harder for different people at depending on what space it is. I think some people have been so conditioned to code switch, they're so used to, like, it's just it's just embodied in them. But I think something that, like, that can help them is being more exposed to those black spaces so that they can realize the difference a bit more. And then because when it becomes so embedded in you just like, you don't even realize, like, oh yeah, like I'm moving a bit different. But then like the more you're exposed to these black spaces which bring you black joy, you realize, yo, I'm not tapped into my real self right now. So yeah, I think being more exposed to those spaces might help.
Yeah. I think also just don't block it out, you know, it comes natural. And like, if you feel like you're suppressing the person that you have to be, you're probably not supposed to be there. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can be yourself wherever you want. And I think that comes with learning. I think that comes with understanding. I think that comes with knowing your history. You know, that's a major, major part of it. And like, it's something that's helped me to, you know, inform the work that I do and also how I pass knowledge on. You know, I think it's like a each one teach one mentality where once someone's done it, it's easy for the next people to come through. And, you know, it's just about making it easy for the next people to come through after you and whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
I think it's also like having boundaries, like within yourself, and knowing your worth and your value. And I know that takes time, like it took time for me, and it still continues. I think that's something that I actively try to learn in different spaces that I enter, but understanding that boundaries are your friend and that like they're not a punishment. And if somebody is trying to make you adjust yourself to fit them for their comfort, then you're right, you shouldn't be in that space. And I think it's also about knowing which black people are around that are visible that you can reach out to, because they can reconfirm for you when you can be in situations where somebody's trying to gaslight you because of your personality and your character. And it's like, well, often people who are coming from positions of power don't like it when someone asserts a boundary and says no. So if you're able to understand that actually my character shifts your comfort level because you don't know how to speak to people who look like me, then actually I shouldn't be in this space with you. And I think there can be sometimes a lot of fear mongering in creative industries. It's like, well, if you're like this, you're never going to work again. That's rubbish. You will. There's always a space for you. But I think oftentimes when we don't know that we are in a place or we were there, then it can feel like you're isolated and like you're the only one. So you do end up in situations where you think code switching is the mechanism that you have to use for survival. And at least I now, like when I walk into places, I talk with my accent. I don't care. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. and actually, like, and that's what the world is supposed to be about. The world is like, you're supposed to have a lot of space for everybody to be able to like be themselves. So I think, yeah, for anyone who's kind of coming up is like, I myself struggle with being visible in different ways, because also as coming from like trans and non-binary community, there's people have a lot of issue with the fact that we exist and have existed for years and years and years. I'm here, so whatever. But like reaching out to people who are even here on this panel and like just seeing that we are here and we are trying to connect with each other and we are trying to find each other, and we are trying to bridge that gap of feeling like there's a gulf between us. Because like, yeah, I think there are a lot of us out there, we just don't know about each other as yet. So having that awareness when you walk into a room and know the experience of, this is one reality. I know that there are other realities that I can be a part of, and those are also really good options for me. This isn't the only option, even though I'm being told that it is. It's like, no, you have choices always.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The world is so big.
That's
so true.
I know.
Yeah. The world is so
big. I think an important thing on that also is being able to create your own space.
Yeah.
When it seems as though it's going to be difficult to break into a space, or that being yourself isn't going to be accepted in a space, that you do have the power to join together with other people like you to create something like this. It can be as small as anything, it can be as big as anything, it just depends how much you put in. But you know, don't have to ask for permission.
Yeah.
100. I know. And that's something that I think is actually been said quite a lot in this conversation, and I've heard especially over the past year, where people are really being like, actually I can take ownership of my own space. I can create space, I can put on events that I feel like will create Black joy, and I think there is something really incredible about realizing that power and realizing that there is all types of different people that genuinely can understand you. Some people may not. That's cool. It is what it is. Yeah. And I think this actually like leads on quite nicely to our third question, which is, what do moments like this mean for both you, for people? What is having moments like this, creating conversations for Black artists, for Black people to just be open and speak?
Yeah, I think it means a lot because you realize the impact of it. Like the impact of Black people taking up a space, talking about joy, which isn't something that's talked about often. Like being able to just be, you know, can inspire the next generation, then it can shake up and reshape culture and you know, help the brethren that are like find it difficult to, you know, be their authentic selves. Yeah, so I think it means a lot because of how inspiring and how impactful it is for me.
Yeah, thank you.
I think for me, it's like particularly important because certain things like this weren't accessible to me when I was younger. And you know, I think it's all about representation and accessibility to information. Whereas had I seen role models like me when I was younger, I would have been a lot more motivated from earlier rather than looking to certain other people for certain other things that was leading down a different way. Do you know what I mean? You know, and I think it's just a part of passing everything on. You know, once you break through, it's not about you doing it on your own. It's about helping the next person else up. Yeah. You know, big part of it.
Definitely. And I'm really glad you said that as well, because it's like, you know, like people, just you recognizing within yourself that actually there are people out there that are looking at you and looking up to you, and that is something that is really important. And even and hopefully it doesn't give you pressure, but I do think it's like it's actually recognizing that as a person. I feel like it's really great to hear that, because you know your worth.
Yeah, it's a sense of responsibility, really, innit? Like, yeah, we've all got our sense of responsibility to ensure that things are better for the next people.
The next one,
I think for me, it reminds me that like not to have attachments to buildings, actually, because like buildings are just, I start to think of them as they're nice add-ons, but there are ways in which we can connect without being like, it's the focus is just the building, and actually it's not, it's the community around it. And I think often we can be in places and they don't be in buildings and they don't even engage with, do any outreach for people that are like don't even know the building exists. And there are so many times when there are buildings that I went past on the bus in London and I knew it was a theatre, but I never thought I'm going to go in there because I knew that I couldn't economically, it's not accessible for me to go in there. And also just the stories that they presented outside of it weren't reflective of me. So like, for me, having spaces like this is really important because it reminds us that we talk to each other and that we are connected. And particularly, I think sometimes a lot of the conversations can be generally like focused on being in the center of the city, so being in a city in general, but also being connected to the capital city of London. And it's nice to actually, for us to create conversations where it's like we're outside of that sphere, and where people that are coming from Birmingham and Liverpool and Manchester and London, and like if there's a black community in Cornwall, like we're all talking, you know, and like we're all having that I think building up that foundation together. And I also feel like conversations like this are often spring platforms for people to kind of spark up projects, and for people to like end up collaborating with each other, and but for also anyone who ends up watching these conversations gets to see how the same feelings that they probably have in wanting to be validated and like wanting to be seen, we've also felt that in so many different ways. And it's a reminder to be like, yeah, you know, you're not alone in that same thing that you're feeling in your town, or like your small city, or like where in the postcode that you only want to stay to, these people have felt too. So I think it's like, it's really important. And I think just generally, it's really nice to be able to be in spaces where we have conversations about our rage as much as we have about our joy, because there's so much for us to be joyful about. And there's so much for us to celebrate, you know. Even in our mourning, we celebrate in our cultures, like in the Caribbean, particularly in Jamaica, we have this thing like Nine Night, and that's to celebrate the passing of someone who's died for 9 nights, you know. And so I think for people that have something like that, why wouldn't we have so many wonderful things to like speak about? So
yeah, I think definitely it's like, you know, having conversations like this not always be a reaction to something traumatic that's happened. And, you know, allowing these conversations to happen all year round on any topic regarding like black experience, black joy, black pain, whatever it is, but feeling like people can talk without something having to ignite it, or a catalyst for that being something traumatic, you know?
And I think that is, like that is one of the reasons why it is important, because like, oh my gosh, the opportunity to literally just talk about joy, like, you know, my middle name is Joy, like I'm here for it. Do you know what I mean? Like I wrote a piece of work like in response to the recent highlights of Black Lives Matter in the past year. And I was just like, yo, I wrote it because I didn't know how else to express myself. I didn't want to go too ham on social media and like, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really know how to react other than writing. But then once I'd been able to like take all that weight off my shoulders, I was like, it's so important to talk about joy and like, and being able to like, I guess, recognize the fact that we've like survived like the triggering blows of like the days past, and like being able, like we literally survived so much, and just being able to enjoy like who we are as a people, and being able to talk about that, because around that time every conversation was just like another weight on my shoulder. Like I'm already dealing with it, but it's like okay, then we're having these discussions, and like I get it, obviously it's great for everyone else to take it all off, but I felt like I was loading it on myself as well. So yeah, it's really rare, this conversation, so that's why it's important.
Yeah, definitely, like to sort of like go against the numbers. Like I know I keep, you know, the sort of like over the past year, I think the sort of like since Black Lives Matter happened, there's been an opportunity where people can sort of talk freely about black people, but I also think that did come with like a little bit of like, well, black people don't trust doctors, and black people don't do this, and black people don't do this, and I was like, I didn't know all these numbers, and I didn't know all these things that I'm supposed to feel, or that other people feel, that I didn't know about, and there was a lot of negativity. So it is really kind of like really nice to kind of hear positive, because we are our own, we are our stories, we are the trauma, but we are the joy as well, and as much as we need to get bombarded by all the stats or whatever, it is really nice to sort of hear the positiveness of being black, because there's so much of it. And actually, just leading on to the next thing, and I know you did not get this beforehand, but I am gonna just throw it to you. What does black love mean to you? Like, and examples of just black love, whether it is a song or the first time you sort of noticed black love, and just what does black love mean to you? Or if it's just self-love. I'm gonna give you a second. Throwing you off.
Well, okay, so I think black love means to me it has a relationship with self-love, and like being able to not look up to, you know, the European looks that are pushed in beauty adverts and things, from body shape to face shape to lip shape, and just like removing all that, putting it in the bin, and then like just looking at you know, my Afrocentric features and enjoying that, and like, yeah, and embracing that. So I think that's what black love means to me, is like not taking in the westernized looks of love for yourself, you know what I'm saying?
100. Yeah, falling in love with yourself is a very important one, I think. And recognizing the beauty. And not just, to be fair, like westernized, but also like all different cultures. Yeah, it is really like, yeah,
like not comparing.
Exactly, yeah.
Like it's like beauty over there is calm, but like beauty over here is calm too.
It's like, different. Yeah, it's a range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say black love relates to like unity and kinship, in the sense that, you know, historically we've had to bond over trauma for so long and so many years, and that shift, that paradigmatic shift in like, now we can have conversations and connect with people over more joyous things. You know, it's kind of a beautiful thing, really. It's kind of like when I was growing up and walking through my community, my side, and my mum would let on to anybody who's black, you know, and that was just a thing. And I've grown up always letting on to anyone who's black, just because, you know, like that's coming from times in the 60s where there was very few around unless you was in that same community, and this is the way that you connect with people instantly. And I think that can only come from the historic past that we've come from. You know, I think it's more like, it feels like a family love almost, whether you know each other or not.
You always know the auntie, like we walk past the auntie, you know it's the auntie. Yeah, 100.
Everyone becomes your auntie.
You're 100. It's that shared history. But yeah, that is so true. There's that shared history as well. The head nod.
Yeah, for me it feels like, acknowledging reflections of each other, seeing it in each other, and like there's a shorthand with how quickly we become family in like conversations and calling each other fam and all of the like. I know when we used to be able to leave the UK but go traveling, whenever I would walk past a black person, we would just like acknowledge each other and give each other the nod. And that for me felt like black love, because it's like, I see you, and that's what it feels like at the moment. It's like every time I might walk outside, I see someone, it's that acknowledgement of like, I know what we're feeling right now, and I'm not gonna pretend that I know what you as an individual are experiencing, but I see you, you know? And I think it's also like showing up for yourself as well, because more than anything, we can always say all of these self-love, because for me, all of this also feels like a new language, even though maybe it's not new, but the way that we consistently talk about it, and on the scale that we talk about it, feels quite new, where we're constantly saying self-love and self-care and all of these things, but also trying to consistently show up for yourself and like actively look at yourself in the mirror and appreciate what you look like, and like consider yourself as something that is, and the people around you, not as like preferences, and actually look at like sometimes the difficulty in how we are with each other, trying to bridge that gap and looking at our own colorism or anti-blackness and homophobia, all of these things, and understanding how to accept each other in all of our facets. That for me would feel like the most complete version of what I would see as Black love. But for now, it exists as like acknowledging each other and seeing each other, and I hope that that extends further out into seeing that we can exist as so many different things, and no matter what our backgrounds are or our beliefs, like we're still together, and we're still trying to actively work towards a collective liberation and celebration of that liberation, I guess. So yeah, and it just, I don't know about you lot, but Black love also just feels like sometimes when I'm seeing it online and I'm seeing couples together and I'm seeing kids and stuff like that, it just feels like a testimony of like, look how someone can shine so strong when like they're being encouraged and being told that they're being valued and that they are beautiful and that there isn't really a standard. Like, yeah. But I think I find out about Black love every day, and it surprises me all the time. So I don't have always a definitive answer, just what I feel at the moment.
Yeah, no, thank you. Wow. I kind of don't want this conversation to end, and I don't think it should. I think this kind of conversation should carry on beyond the space and beyond us. And even if we take it to, I don't know, if you get in a taxi, take it to the driver.
Yeah.
When you get there. Do you know what I mean? I definitely think there's like, it's just been really incredible kind of like hearing your thoughts, and I think you're all kind of like incredible artists as well, and like it would be really great to sort of like connect even more and kind of like carry on these conversations ourselves. But before we kind of like wrap things up, we do have a statement that we'd like to share across the sort of looking forward to tomorrow community and as a group, as a statement of sort of hope, but also kind of just sharing your thoughts and what you want to put out to the world out there. So yeah, I'm gonna ask you all individually, but I'll go first. Looking forward to tomorrow. I hope more conversations like this happen, and I hope that we open up more inclusively to everyone, whoever they are. Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna come to you.
Looking forward to tomorrow, I hope that the rage and collective energy we are feeling right now continues to grow, and people continue to build the projects that they've started, and that leads to them being able to create more ownership together as communities, and that we have more moments of celebration, that we see more work that's weird and sci-fi and magical realist and just like random and as like out of this world as you can imagine, people just making that stuff just because.
Yep. Thank you. All the genres.
Looking forward to tomorrow. I hope that Black people can feel encouraged and empowered to shine in all their joy, collectively and individually, and just taken into just embracing in their individual personalities, rather than thinking that it always has to be like a universal thing as well. Yeah.
Looking forward to tomorrow, I hope that Black joy becomes the defining feature of the Black experience.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, Xana, Dorcas, Tio. And I really do hope you guys carry on checking their work out because they're incredible artists. And I'd just like to take a moment to thank Manchester International Festival and Contact Theatre for allowing me to host this event. It's been an absolute honour. And I'm just more conversations like this, please. Thank you.
It's been fantastic just to be involved in the group and be able to join Zoom sessions like weekly, be with like a whole group of eclectic people was really useful, and just hearing everyone's ideas and what everyone cares about as well. So for me, it was like an additional community that I had available to me whilst we were in lockdown.
This group, although, you know, since the start of the project, we've never had the chance to actually meet in real life, I feel like as a group, it feels really supportive and it feels like a nice hug.
Personally, the experience mostly has been about meeting new people and getting to hear people's different life experiences from all different age groups and different walks of life.
It was great just to see like the energy in the room and all the ideas kind of like flowing and spinning around.
What we're doing kind of feels like it's contributing to like a bigger thing and like actually having an impact.
Everybody's brought something different, which has then maybe changed the way you thought about something or sparked a different idea.
These themes, they're massive, they're so big, and they've got so much, each one of them has got so much to unpack within itself.
You see your ideas or your conversations or even your opinions sort of influence someone else's idea to a point where it actually becomes something tangible. I think that's really beautiful.
They're both themes that are things that are really pressing issues that people need to take hold of.
In a way to kind of avoid it being about like suffering and going down a darker route, it's like a focus on black joy for the equality one, which is really nice. I really like that. And then for the environmental one, I think that's just because it's something that affects everyone. It's happening all the time. That's one of the cool things about the event is it is relevant, but not in an extremely political way. But at the same time, we are talking about things that like matter and are important.
Ultimately, I just want people to have a good time and enjoy connecting with others. Ask loads of questions, be intrigued, be confused, because when you're confused, it means that you need to figure out what's what, and that's an amazing journey to go on.
There's going to be so much opportunities for the people that come into the space that is being created to talk as well, which means that we're going to hear more new things and hopefully experience some of the things that the audiences will be experiencing for the first time as well.
There's people out there who are willing to support and guide and help, and just because you don't know something about something, that people are not going to be negative about that. They're going to welcome you in and go, well, come here, let me tell you a little bit more about it.
If you share the problem and like break it down, it can start to look much more solvable, much more, something that you can manage and deal with.
But like this just feels like everyone, and it's like the first time I've been in a group like this, where it's just like you get a scope of everyone, different ages, different like creeds, nationalities. It was just really cool, but yeah.
The event, which to us is sort of coming to an end, but for other people it's the starting point for them. They're going to take part in these things, and it's going to be sort of set the ball rolling for them.
I hope that the audience will take away knowledge, connections, and action.
Through my 3 words, you are heard.
Listen, collaborate, and create.
Growth, excitement, and an opening.
Inspiration, joy, hope.
Energy, motivation, agency.
Positivity, confidence, and empowerment.
So I'd say positivity, sense of empowerment. I mean the word listening. I don't know what the active word of that is, but I think people will go away from it with the sense that they are open to listening a little bit more.
I think it's more important just for people to feel like there's a kind of like collaborative air and the sort of unity, and that we can kind of all face the future together to tackle these problems.